Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Tables with your host, Rob Bradley.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. This is episode 12, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah,
A dozen
episode
under the
12.
belt. That's amazing.
12 weeks of podcasting, crikey. With one break as well. We didn't have a break, did we? We only had one so far. It's pretty good, I think,
Yeah,
isn't it?
not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, one break, yeah. How you guys doing? You well?
Excellent.
Yeah. I know James isn't particularly the
Well,
way, James.
Oh, what happened, James? Yeah, I didn't even get to hear this story.
I've broken a toe. Not the biggest one, the second biggest one. Kicking the bottom of someone's foot playing sports ball.
Sports ball? What's sports ball?
All the sports.
It's football.
It's every sport at once.
Really?
but I've heard other DMs jokingly refer to any sport as sports ball, in a feigned ignorance of the fact that sports exist and have their own individual names.
That's what I call it. Ball play ball. They're all the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just basically like run around with a bat that you have with a baseball bat, and you've got a ball that you have to bounce with the bat, and then you've got to hit the ball into a goal that is basically a net, but it's like a big goal. Yeah.
It's like
but it's
it's
a really
like
wide standing up net, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
I see you've played Aussie rules football.
Yeah, that's how it works.
It's blatantly what the Aussies did, wasn't it? They're like, "Oh, this game's fucking stupid. Let's just pick it up and give it a fucking kick."
As many sports as we can. We'll just stuff it all in here.
Yeah, that'll be right.
You know what? We'll throw in some crocodiles because why not?
Yeah, right.
Hey,
Snapping at you from the sidelines.
Yeah, so I did that, and then after playing on it for about 45 minutes and just making sure to not use that foot for as much as possible, someone stamped on it, and then
agonizing sensations later. Yeah. That's
so it's a lovely purpley black at the moment.
Nice.
Which toe?
Is painful.
Which toe is it?
The second, but the one next to the big one on my left foot, and I'm left-footed, so it wasn't ideal.
Oh no!
Playing right-footed the entire.
Is the nail intact?
The nail is intact. It's just
good.
The bones. It's just the
it's
bone
gravel.
underneath.
It's just become gravel.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm glad that we're laughing about
it.
it.
You could hear it crunch when it got stamped.
Oh, Jesus.
Ah!
Yeah, and then I screamed, and then like just everyone stopped. We were like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, it's just." I mentioned before. I thought I'd broken my toe. It's definitely gone out.
It's broken, all right.
Yeah.
Oh no. Welcome to 30.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's your birthday, wasn't it?
Up. Yeah, last week it was my birthday. So
cool.
So it begins.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everything aches. My knees hurt in the morning. My back hurts, and I now make weird noises when I stand up from chairs. So I've been told that's all perfectly normal.
That's perfect. See, doctor, you're just 30. Congratulations.
The two words left and right will no longer be in your vocabulary because you'll just have my bad side and my good side. It's like it's my bad arm and my good arm. That's literally going to be
scary how true that is, actually. I've never thought about it, Rob, and now I'm like, oh shit. Yeah.
I've got a bad shoulder. My left shoulder's a bad shoulder. It's always been like really cricky, but I think it's because when I used to work in London, I'd be on the phone and I'd have my elbow right on the desk like this, and my hand like that. And I'd be like, yeah, hello, da, da, da. But
leaning
every day,
desk.
8 hours a day, just like sat like this. And yeah, I think it just buggered my shoulder up.
Yeah,
I've got like a
really
deep.
I've got a bad elbow already, which I notice if I lift anything heavy, that hurts. It almost like makes like a little popping noise when I like lift anything above my head.
Oh, fun. All right, well, since we're comparing, I sprained my ankle. I sprained my ankle in January, and it never healed properly because it was one of those things where it's like, it's a sprain. I've had one before. What is the doctor going to do? Tell me to rest and put ice on it? Why should I go? So I'm like, I'll just wait it out. And it was awful, but like a couple of weeks later, it started to look a little bit better. And all right, I can walk on it again, without too much issue. But then I realized it's set incorrectly.
Oh, no.
So now it is
re-break it.
constant. Like I have to carefully walk on it. I can't just mindlessly put regular pressure. It's like I'm walking on eggshells only with my right foot, which is just the greatest. Yeah.
God.
Yep, gotta get that fixed. Woohoo!
Well, if you break it again, you can set it properly. Anyway, I'm really
right. That's honestly, I was like kind of
Yeah.
hoping for that to happen.
Have you guys ever suffered a D&D injury?
Ooh, yeah, we got to bring this back to D&D. This is a D&D podcast, everybody.
Yeah, right.
That was
started talking about sports.
Standing on a D4 is pretty bad. Yeah.
D&D related injury. I once threw the dice too hard and I overextended my shoulder in excitement. And actually, the best D&D injury was when my players rolled 2 nat 20s in a row where they needed it really badly. And I was so excited for them. I stood up from the seat to be like, yeah, you did it. And my knees both collided into the table and sent everything spilling everywhere. And my knees hurt for like a week.
God. Yeah.
I was too enthusiastic about the win.
It's a contact sport, D&D.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally.
It's sports ball.
Careful.
It's sports
You
ball.
gotta wear pads when you play D&D, man.
Yeah. Hey, look, the balls are weirdly shaped, but they're still technically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, brilliant.
Goodness.
Brilliant. Well, we had our Movember live stream at the weekend. I hope some of our listeners tuned into it. It was a great success. Yeah, did you guys watch it?
Yeah. I caught a little bit of it, but I was at the beach Saturday and Sunday, so
as you did, it was hot at the weekend, wasn't it? Crikey,
so hot.
Yeah, it's a good job. The studio had air conditioning, which is good, so no one got cooked in there. But yeah, good effort to everyone. Shout out to our DMs.
Congratulations.
We had Anna, Chris, Jordan, Harry, Jack, and I think that's it.
Who are we forgetting?
If it's not, we'll do an errata next week where we're like, DM, we forgot last week. We're so sorry.
Yeah, well done to you guys if you are listening. Yeah, you did a fantastic job.
Actually, a test to see which of our DMs are listening. So if you didn't hear your name and you were part of the stream, congrats, you passed.
Exactly. Yep. I'll probably get an angry email at some point, but hey.
I was there.
I can't believe you mentioned me on the podcast, Rob. I was
Oh my God, that was almost a Peter Griffin. Amazing.
Sorry. Cool. So, what news we got this week then, James?
So, news-wise, there is a new Unearthed Arcana for a fighter class that looks really cool. The Brawler.
The Brawler.
Yeah. So it's interesting because obviously at first glance and first sound, it sounds like it's going to be one of those where it's like a pub tavern brawler. It's going to be like a less good monk, but actually it is that, but there is more. So yeah, you've got your standard stuff that you'd expect. So lots of improvised weapons, which from what people have said makes things a little tricky for the DM, but you essentially, what they want you to do is just add actual weapon stats to unarmed attacks, which is cool. So you can change between the damage types, which, as the rules stand, doesn't really make too much difference what kind of damage you do in a lot of cases, whether it's bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. But if you're a DM who likes to add stuff to the game, maybe from older editions or just going forward, you're like, well, no, I want there to be a difference and a reason for people to take bludgeoning or a slashing or do piercing damage on certain stuff. So I think skeletons used to have like a vulnerability to bludgeoning damage.
Bludgeoning, they still do. They still do in 5e. Yeah.
Okay, I have.
Yeah,
I was
running a skeleton encounter. I was running a frost giant skeleton encounter last night. And I was looking at it because this thing's massive and deals like 3d12 plus 7 on its axe hit and stuff. And I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, it's vulnerable to bludgeoning, just like a regular skeleton. Oh,
I wonder if that's something they've put back in, because I feel like the original...
No, there's always been in there, James. You're fired.
Oh, goddamn.
The casualness that came out.
Get out. Get out.
Shit, yeah. I've quickly gone and
you of
checked
your
myself.
professional
Rob,
DM
he's
abilities.
too good looking. Save him.
Oh, okay, fine. That's a saving grace. It's a saving grace then.
God.
I've checked, and you are both correct. Not that I doubted you
features.
for a second, but it's definitely one of those things I should have checked before I wrecked myself.
It's all right. Don't worry about it.
It's all good.
I know that there are definitely stuff that is missing. That was one that I knew used to have one. I thought it didn't anymore, but
there is a lot.
I don't
of
really
stuff
use
like that
skeletons, so I don't think it's ever come up in a game that I've run. So that's actually
There you
really
go.
handy. I tend to use ghouls and zombies, and
Ghouls and zombies are great.
Yeah, I use
they
ghouls
are
and
they are
zombies.
somewhat better.
Ghouls are good. Ghouls are really quite terrifying, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think it's
Yeah.
just
I
I don't
love
have any
ghouls and
skeleton.
ghasts.
And gas,
But
and gas are good.
Yeah, ghasts are great. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I love the undead. The whole undead like repertoire of monsters is fantastic, isn't it?
The best part is too. Yes, there's so many fantastic individual undead monsters. You know, you have things like the Lich and weird things like the Boneless and stuff. But anything can be undead. Like that's the beauty of it, right? You can take literally anything and make it somewhat more terrifying by saying its skin is falling off. You know, like an undead bullet. Or I don't know, and even undead dragons. We've gotten, you know, Dracoliches and stuff like that too. So yeah, really, I love the versatility of that one class, and that's what makes I think haunted D&D games or horror D&D games so effective, because not only is it built for that kind of thing, right? These things are horrible, but you can make anything you want happen just by saying, well, it died and some weird necromantic magic brought it back to life in this rotten or whatever it is, you know. And it can be as stupid or as intelligent as you want, and as strong or as weak as you want. It's fantastic.
Basically, it gives the DM agency to be an arsehole.
Yep. Yep.
Oh yeah, you thought you killed him? Well, you didn't. He's back.
Yeah, he's back. They picked up his piece. They cast true resurrection on him. They didn't need any body parts, even though you burned it in the lava. I haven't done that before. What are you talking about? I'm actually James. I actually. Sorry.
One of my all-time favorite monsters is a Death Knight.
Oh, the Death Knights are cool.
The Death Knight. Yeah. I've never run one of those. Are they? What are they like?
Brutal.
They're dark paladins. Effectively,
Yeah.
they're
Dark
super.
paladins.
They're super intense dark paladins that basically broke their oaths so hard that they usually killed themselves in the process or something like that. But then were brought back by dark powers to forever plague the land, and they can do cool things like I actually heard about why this is a thing. They have an ability which is like a they're I forget what it's called. It's like their death orb or something like that.
Yep. Hellfire orb.
Hellfire orb. It's a 20-foot radius explosion of bullshit. I think it's 10d6 fire and 10d6 necrotic.
Yeah.
Wow. James, you look like you're reading the MM now. You're like, I'm backing up everything I'm saying. Yeah. Wow. So the reason for that is because that used to be an actual spell in the game that paladins could take. Yeah. And now they were like, oh, okay, we're going to preserve that element of it just as a feature rather than a spell that is accessible to players. But like, yeah, back in 2nd edition or something like that, that Hellfire Orb was a real spell. And I'm like, 20 D8 damage as a base.
That's like a 9th level then, right? That's
probably. Who knows?
Time spell.
It's massive.
Yeah.
I've used it on my players before, but they were level 5, so I didn't use the Hellfire Orb.
I was going to say 70 damage to a hell to. Bloody
I think that would be excessive. Yeah,
have to pass a DC 18 Dexterity saving throw.
Yeah,
I wanted them as a recurring villain, so I had them gain more and more power every time they met and had leveled up in between.
Such a cool enemy.
Who's the?
And look, it's just an undead. It's just a dude in a suit of armor that isn't living anymore, and yet it has and like they're typically seen with nightmares, right? As in like the fiery horses and stuff.
Yeah,
so awesome.
Oh, cool.
I think I had mine riding a wyvern.
Oh, sweet!
Sick.
Pretty cool. Yeah, so sick.
It's a great villain. I really liked him.
It is wonderful how much you can do with D&D, isn't it? Like the stuff they give you, that you can just literally take this character here and just really flesh them out as a bad guy, give him a load of lore, why there's this Death Knight, make him your main sort of antagonist in the story, and really go to town on it. So great.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, a blast.
Yeah, that's
So
cool.
I was actually reading through the Brawler notes, the PDF now, James, and I
Yes.
see exactly what you mean. You know who I feel like inspired all of this? Olga from the D&D movie, for those of you who have watched it, played by Michelle
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
I feel like if you want to make that character, this is what you take. Or like you multi-class barbarian and fighter, right? To have this
Mm.
unarmed brawler expert guy. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
1d6 plus your strength mod, and if you aren't holding any weapons or a shield when you make an attack roll, the d6 becomes a d8. That's not bad
Mm.
for
I think
punching a person.
from what I've seen as well, it's not just playing like a bar brawly sort of like loosey goosey just punch a thing later. You could build a brawler to be something like Bullseye from Daredevil, where they're taking
Mm.
like improvised weapons to like assassinate. If
That's
you
a
pair
cool
it
way
with
to
a
view
rogue,
it.
Yeah, that's
with
cool.
rogue as well for like sneak attack damage. Like, okay, they've taken all my weapons. As I go into the embassy, okay, great. Well, I pick up a pen off the desk and I throw it in the guy's throat in one swift
Yeah,
motion to get
brilliant.
my sneak attack damage off.
Who wants to see a magic trick?
Yeah, right.
exactly.
It's gone.
Gone.
So good. That scene was like, I was like, okay. I was like, okay, cool. This is where we are then. Awesome. I was like,
It is a
okay.
masterclass in
Oh,
writing. That whole
oh
every
yeah.
scene of that film, obviously, but
Mm,
that one scene in particular, I will rewatch because it takes two concepts, one that you're familiar with and one that's entirely new, and
mm,
shows you how to perfectly mash them together.
hmm.
Like that's how you do it. That's how you get this one weirdo to be feared by the whole room. It tells you everything you need to know ahead of the movie about the Joker, right? That he's willing
Absolutely.
to
Yep.
blow up the whole room because he's like, let's not blow
Yeah.
this out of proportion, you know?
Exactly. Show don't tell.
Right.
Yeah, really, really, really powerful. I was listening to Quentin Tarantino on YouTube talking about There Will Be Blood. You know that film with Daniel
Yeah.
Day-Lewis?
Yeah.
Oh, what a great film! And he
Yeah.
was just talking about how much like Quentin Tarantino. He's like I really wish I was the one that made that film. He said because he said that it's because the guy who made it, I forget his name, the director, but but Quentin Tarantino is like he said he's like the guy that he's like I sort of look at him and I look at his work and I'm just like, oh, he makes me want to be a better director.
Wow. That's
And I was like,
awesome.
that's cool. It's a
That
cool
he's
thing to say.
still inspired by it.
Mm.
Paul Thomas Anderson.
That's
is
right,
your
Paul Thomas
director.
Anderson. Yeah, the director of Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. He said that he was
Magnolia.
in the film, the first 20 minutes of the film is mostly silent, but it literally
Right.
shows you
True.
it sets the stage of how this guy who's Daniel Day-Lewis is playing is basically like a money hungry industrial tycoon, but he's in that mine shaft. I don't know if you guys have seen the film, and there's an explosion and he has to leave the gold that he finds and they has to get back to this town. But in order to get back to that town, because he broke his leg, he literally has to crawl on his arms
Yep.
and legs to
Yeah.
get back to it. But you don't see that scene.
Right.
But what you do get sort of shown by the fact that he arrives in that town is there is a guy who is willing to do all that it takes in order to find his fortune, and that's like so powerful that it really sets up this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, is he evil? Maybe, maybe not, but he's definitely greedy and he definitely
Yeah.
wants a fortune and he's going to do anything he can to get it. And I was like, Quentin Tarantino is saying all of this, and I'm like, well, I know what film I'm watching tonight when I get
Yeah,
home.
there you go.
Yeah.
Because it is my boy. Yeah, what
exactly.
a powerful freaking film.
Oh, it's so good. He's such a good villain as well, anti-hero, or however you want to sort of place him. You can't really place him.
Yeah, well, the kid that plays the priest or the reverend or whatever he is,
Yeah,
that's
Eli.
Eli. Oh my god, talk about like a turn on your head villain. He doesn't need to be menacing. He
Yeah.
just needs to be there and committed. You
Yeah,
know, and if
totally.
it reminds me a lot, for those of you who have watched, and I hope you guys have, because it's incredible. Midnight Mass on
No,
Netflix.
Yes.
No, I've not seen it. I've not seen it.
Uh,
I'll write it down.
I won't spoil it for you, Rob, because it's a slow burn. It can be a little hard to get into in the very beginning, but once you realize what's going on, your
Yeah.
brain explodes, and everything is
Oh,
high
wow,
stakes
okay.
after that.
Cool.
Give it a fair chance. Give it a few episodes. It's also especially growing up as a religious person or in a very religious household, especially a Catholic household, that just, it clicked on so many levels. I was like, oh
Really?
God, yeah. Yeah, because of the sort of, I'm going to be careful with what I say on the podcast, but
Okay,
there's,
yeah.
it plays really well into that small town America,
Yeah.
obsessed with how, you know, how the community revolves around the church, basically.
Sure.
And but at the same time, it's a great just horror piece in and of itself. And if you break it down to the very itty bitty, it's a monster movie, right? Like it's
Sweet.
just at its simplest, it is a monster movie, and it's great.
Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
Halloween's
really
around the corner, so I'm gonna.
yeah.
Maybe I'll have to watch that. Yeah,
There you
great.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like a bit of Halloween. I love horror films. I really do. I can't stand watching them. When I'm watching them, I'm like, oh, why did I make this decision? But then afterwards, I'm like, fucking hell, that was great.
So
Like,
what you're saying to me is, because I just did this over last week, you want to come with me to the Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights and go
oh
through
yeah,
all of the haunted experiences and
yeah,
see how
yeah.
that works out.
That'd be cool. Yeah, we'll have that.
It was
Well up for
a
that.
blast. We did a lot of them. We were
Oh
there because
wow.
they do it in the evenings. So I think we were there from like about 6 to 2 in the morning.
Oh
And
wow.
and it was just haunted house after haunted house after haunted house, you know, with the jump scares and the creepy music.
Oh
And
wow.
they started doing something really weird, which I don't know if I like it or not. They started adding smells to the rooms. So it really becomes like a more
Oh yeah.
interactive experience, because at one
Fantastic.
point we walked into like a butcher room, right, where
Yeah.
they were butchering obviously pigs but also humans. And
Yes.
they had this, I recognized the smell. It was that smell, like a rancid sort of fake stage blood smell.
Mm.
But it was really too much. Like I felt like, that it doesn't really put me into it. It just makes me uncomfortable and annoyed at the smell, you know, because it was that bad. So
A while ago, they released, when Resident Evil 7 came out, to accompany it, because you could play it in VR. They released a blood and something scented candle that you could light while you were playing it. And I was I was gutted. I never got a chance to like get hold of one, but someone I know did, and they were like, "Yeah, it smelled like blood." It was real realistic.
Can I be honest with you? So I did end up playing through Resident Evil 7, and it is a good game, but that's the one game that I couldn't actually play in VR, not because of the dizziness thing. It was actually just far too creepy. I'm normally really good with creepy stuff. I'll watch horror movies. I even through these haunted experiences, your heart jumps a little when you're surprised, but I was never like terrified. I was like, whoa, whatever. But Resident Evil 7, I couldn't get down the first hallway without freaking out because of the atmosphere was so well built. The dread, the silence of it all, the fact that your footsteps feel so loud in this echoing dark yellow 70s hallway. And when I got to the door and it was like, it's locked. And I'm like, I
I've got to turn around.
I can't do it.
Something behind me.
Yeah. Like, and when you can't
I
see the environment around you, you're like, shit, nope.
I couldn't play it for more than like 10, 15 minutes at a time because my heart would be like beating out my chest.
It was.
I'm gonna have to get it.
Terrifying. Get it.
I haven't got it.
Get it in VR if you
Get
really
it,
want.
get it in VR.
Yeah.
Just be prepared for that, because that is.
Sweet.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
It's
There
a
were like
lot.
some people I think that even like complained about it because it was just too much. But yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, it
definitely
really
check that out.
shows off like the capabilities of VR as an immersive experience. So more than anything else, because by God, was I immersed. I feared for my actual life.
Yeah.
It definitely would be great to see VR with D&D. Like how could that be done? Do you think?
Yeah.
I think on PC there is like you can do like a virtual tabletop where it looks like you're at a tabletop with like 3D miniatures and like stuff like that. That's cool. And I think they are bringing people are developing programs where you can in VR inhabit your character in a dungeon, look around.
That's awesome.
That'd be amazing.
And then obviously
Awesome.
sort of come out of that and then sit around the table, but you could also sort of zip into the character and look around the 3D environment. And
That's
that looks
so cool.
awesome. But at the moment, obviously only PC.
Well, in a world where AR is a thing now, right?
Yeah.
Augmented reality, where it just
Mm.
takes if you scan the landscape around you, it builds out into it. Like imagine
Pokemon
transforming
Go,
your
right?
living room. Right. Yeah, Pokemon Go
Kinda,
does
yeah,
that. There's a few others that do it even better than that. But imagine pointing your phone or your tablet at this area, especially if you're playing online, actually, and it suddenly transforms it into the room that the DM is describing, or he has it built
Yeah,
out. Like,
that would be incredible.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, how far are we away from that with all the
Well,
AI technology that we have?
have you guys seen Unreal 5? Is it Unreal
No, no, not yet. I know.
5.3?
Oh, well, you were talking about it. You said how like
Yeah,
you
the
put in a
Unreal Engine.
prompt from it and it
Yeah,
just
on
built it out.
ChatGPT, and it'll build it for
Yeah,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
insane. If you have a look at on YouTube, type in Unreal 5 demonstration,
I got to do that.
landscapes, that type of thing. You honestly, the videos are
Insane.
just oh god, it's like if that's where games are going and game environments are going, it's going to be, I'd say, probably the next 5 or 10 years we're going to struggle to tell the difference.
Right. Awesome.
I
Let's do
think.
it. I'm ready for Ready
Fantastic.
Player One. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, right.
I
Jack
want that
me
life.
in. Jack me
Yeah.
in.
I don't care if capitalism and society falls apart around me, as long as I can get.
But when you think about it, when we're old guys, the technology is going to be so insane
Mhm.
that we'll literally be young again. We're going to just go, dump, I'm a young guy.
Yep.
Here I am.
Yeah.
I'm a young
I
guy.
feel
and I
I'm
can play
moving
around. I
real
can do what the
quick.
hell I want. Here I
Yeah.
am. Yeah,
That's
they'll just
true.
put my brain in a jar and just jack me in.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, right, make me forget that I ever had a life. And actually, this is my life. And then that will
Very
happen.
possible.
But actually, this is what's happening now. And everything's just like on a repeat. Ah!
Okay.
What is reality? Get me out of here!
Oh,
It'll
Take
be like
support!
Inception.
Take support!
Gameception. That. We'll make this movie. It'll be called Gameception, and we'll just spin a D20 instead of a top and see where.
Yeah.
it ends.
Yeah, exactly.
Carries on forever.
Like,
Gosh.
oh, fuck. Mm.
Oh gosh.
Ooh,
Anyway,
That went on a
cool.
tangent.
Back to it.
Yeah, so back to the news. Yeah, what's going on?
So, how do we feel about DuckTales?
I love DuckTales.
Love
How
it.
do we feel
Weird
about
segue. What do we
post-apocalyptic settings?
Yes.
In an apocalyptic setting.
Yep. There is
Okay,
a
cool.
DuckTales-inspired RPG, which is a hellish version of the classic cartoon.
Oh my god.
That has been. I think they're doing a print run now. It was released a while ago, like online, but they are now doing a print version of Duckborg, who is done by the same people as Morkborg.
Oh my goodness.
RPG, and it is all
That's
the whimsy
incredible.
of the childhood cartoon you know and love combined with a post-apocalyptic setting.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to picture what the DuckTales theme sounds like set to the Last of Us music right now. It's like,
Yeah,
life
right.
is like a hurricane. Here
Oh, it's
in
much sadder than that.
It's just-
That's a very interesting. Imagine
Mashup.
they were sat around. They're going, okay, so we've got the DuckTales IP. What can we do with it? Well, we can always put them in an apocalyptic setting.
Yep, done.
Great.
I don't
Your
know.
idea, sir. Let's
Yeah,
make
I
it
don't
happen.
know that they've got the IP. I
Oh,
think
right. It's inspired. It's inspired.
It's heavily inspired by, and there is definitely a Darkwing Duck-esque looking character that's been created. But it's just
Oh wow!
a noir.
How do they get around that with Disney?
a-
My God!
Is there
Yeah.
a vault full of gold that you can
you can dive into? I mean,
Yeah,
if
right.
that's not your,
without breaking
like,
your skeletal frame?
Yeah.
Can I tell you a little side? I don't know that I've ever talked about this on the podcast. It's a little side story.
You've got
So-
a vault full of gold
Yeah, right? Surprise,
that
everyone!
you swim around in.
my end of one of my Roll Dark campaigns, I had a couple of players who were playing selfish characters. Definitely not selfish people, just selfish characters. One of them obviously being the cliche rogue. And at the end of the game, because they had helped out a deity basically save the Feywild, they all got a wish. And she would help, do their wish. But I told them, the way I run wish spells is the more collaborative and selfless the wish is, the more likely the spirit of your wish will be accomplished. The
Got it.
more selfish and generally shitty the way you word your wish, then that will be more my interpretation, and you have to be much more
Yeah.
careful with how you phrase your wish in order to try and
Cool.
make that happen, right?
Good rule.
So in other words, just trying to encourage, like, if you're trying to make the world end with a wish, it probably won't happen the way you ideal or you sort of think of it.
Your world ends.
Right, exactly. Your world ends. So with this rogue, he wished for a uh a DuckTales-esque gold vault that he could dive into, and that it would self-replenish that it would self-replenish its gold. He actually didn't even specify how much. He also failed to specify, in this very selfish wish that was just about making money, if there was any gold in the vault at all. He just wished for a vault in the vein of DuckTales. He didn't say it had to be full. So sure enough, there was, I think, an illusion cast over the top of the vault that made it look like it was full of gold, an Olympic-sized swimming pool. And so when he dived down into it, he took something like 10d6 bludgeoning damage because he landed on the bottom of it. And it did replenish money, but only money that he would throw into it at the rate of 1 extra a year, because they didn't specify how much.
Interest rates were horrible at the time.
Very slow in the Feywild.
So basically, JC, you created a retail bank.
Yeah. I created a modern banking system.
You created a modern banking system. Yeah. Great.
But yeah. So don't wish for shitty things in my games, guys. This is what happens.
Wow.
At a final battle for one of my games, I gave them a deck of many things, and they with like 12 cards in, and they drew every single one.
No.
So by the end of it, 3 were just in horrible positions.
Oh.
One, and the order they drew it in also just was horrible. So they drew the get a keep and wealth; those 2 were drawn, and then a couple of draws later, lose all.
You lose all of that.
Lose it all.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We're rich. Oh, we're poor.
We're poor again.
And my soul's been banished into some sort of horrible gem.
Demi-plane or something. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Christ.
The Devil's one is a lot of fun. Or the Flames card, where the powerful devil becomes your arch nemesis and will try and screw you over every chance it gets. And I'm like, I think with this one, I don't know if Alex listens to this podcast, but shout out to Alex. This was from our Advent of the Absolute games, which you might remember, Rob. Mm-hmm. He had this wonderful tiefling character, a Levistus tiefling, who was a warlock, and he was trying to basically realize why Levistus was trapped and help him get out of that. And he never knew this, but as he drew the Flames card, they thought that it was other devils that were trying to, the other guy who rules where Levistus currently does. I forget his name right now. It's not Bell, it's something else. But basically something with a G. But the devil, the archdevil that rules Levistus's layer of hell. And he was like, oh, you're trying to free him? I am now your public enemy number 1. I'm going to try and destroy you. But in fact, Garion, that's his name. But in fact, it wasn't Garion. It was actually Asmodeus himself who wanted Levistus in prison because he put him there in the first place for, various and sundry reasons. So the whole time they have these devils constantly sort of messing things up and cheating him out of money and things like that. But it's actually Asmodeus pulling all the strings, like Satan himself, if you don't know D&D lore, like the ultimate devil. So yeah, you can have a lot of fun with the deck of many things, which
never used them.
Might be a segue to the next piece of news, James.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, good one. Yeah, good one.
You set it up.
Nicely done.
Maybe. There is, of course, now available for pre-order on D&D Beyond anyway, and I imagine physical copies too. That's releasing on November 14th, the Book of Many Things, which looks like it has a couple of new backgrounds, feats, some new spells, 30 new monsters, and more importantly, more than 50 new magic items, which if you give out magic items at the same rate that I do to my players, because I am a generous and benevolent DM, you will be running out of stuff to give them and will need new things.
Yeah. Do you do Griffin saddlebag and stuff like that for more magic items?
Oh, no, I don't know. I stick within
hardcore with the 5e stuff.
with the 5e rules. There's some, and then I homebrew a lot of stuff. But just that stuff that I make up.
Nice.
So I do get through the standard stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's a limited
I'm
amount.
constantly finding that I want items to do certain stuff, and then being like, oh, well, there's not a thing that does that. I'm gonna create that, I guess.
Yep.
So luckily, D&D Beyond lets you save it all, so you can just go in. I made like specific types of weapons for a campaign made of a specific metal that was the enemies they were fighting were weak to, stuff like that.
Right.
That's very specific to like campaign settings and stories.
Yeah, but still, the system gives you that flexibility, which is nice.
Yeah, it was to fight mind flayers and stuff. So it was a blade that specifically did damage to like mind
psionics
flayers,
or mind flayers.
Yeah, beholders, all that sort of elder brain dragons.
Nice. You and that elder brain dragon.
I love
it so much.
Does the book come with the cards?
I think the online version comes with an online version of the. Ooh, no, I don't think it does. It does come with some lore for the cards though.
Okay,
inside the actual book itself. The online version comes with a set of dice, which is what I got confused about. And new character sheets and backdrops based on the book. And if you like D&D Beyond and creating your characters on there, then like the backgrounds and stuff for your character sheets, they're pretty satisfying. And then if you get the PDF versions, then you can print them off and they look kind of cool.
Very cool.
Okay, yeah.
Sweet.
Oh, and it's also got tools for DMs for making traps, and there's some location maps, and it says
nice.
and more.
And more. We don't know what that more is.
But stuff for DMs, and that's good because honestly, there's not a lot in a lot of the books for unless you're running the actual adventure that they're running. There's not a lot of just like here's some ideas for traps. I think traps is something that's very thin on the ground in the D&D like official books. It's something that people sort of either have to create themselves or go to third parties to
yes. And that is exactly why you should go to Roadhog Press and buy yourself 100 traps and how to make your own. The PDF that's on Roadhog Press at the moment. If you go to where do you go? I should probably know this, shouldn't I? www.roadhog.co.uk/Roadhog-press, and it's the third one across. And it's $10.99 and often goes on sale.
100 traps is pretty good.
100 traps.
That's a lot. It's more than you'll get through in a campaign, probably, unless you're doing like a dungeon crawl and you're absolutely.
You're running Tomb of Horrors or Tomb of Annihilation,
Like I've got some like traps or puzzles that I will use in multiple games. I won't ever use the same one.
Yeah, me too.
Twice, but like there's some really like good ones that I've found that I'm like, oh, this is perfect for like so many situations. There's one where it's a locked door. So this one's for free, guys.
Okay.
It's like
a teaser from the Roadhog Press.
It's either like a door or a chest that has got 6 locks, and next to each lock or like keyhole there is in a language it'll either say open or closed next to each of them, but it's 6 different languages, and you can change the language to whatever you want that makes sense for your setting, and they'll just say open or closed, and then you just need to make sure the locks are open and closed in the correct order, and you can make it a pattern, you can make it random, and then you just have adverse things happen if they try it. So if they look at it and they're like, well, there's a couple of languages we don't know, so we can do the ones we do know, get those in the right position, and then we just guess the others.
Right.
Because they've got to also like do checks to pick the locks as well, because if they don't have keys, if I'm honest, I never give them the keys for this.
Right.
So it's a check to like make sure they are able to like click the lock into whatever position they want to, and then traps can go off for if they don't manage to do the lockpick check properly, and then if they get them in the wrong order and try and open the door, then something happens as well. So it's
nice.
Cool.
It's a fun puzzle.
What's your, because of course it's part riddle, right? To get this open, or if you have a comprehend language spell, you're golden. But what is your damage? Like what is the actual adverse effects that happen if you do? What are some examples you like?
So I like a thunder wave because it pushes them back. So if they're maybe it's on like a thin ledge or something as well. If you're feeling particularly cruel,
Great.
I like arrow like darts.
Dart
You know,
traps.
like
the classic tomb
your
dart
standard
traps.
like tomb dart Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Blowpipes.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, great
Slashing
inspiration.
blade, like
Yep.
blades that come out.
Yeah,
and slash you up.
Blades.
Yeah, slashing blades.
The Bridge of Faith, the bottomless
Mm.
pit if you step on the wrong tiles. These are all great classic Indiana
I've
Jones
got a joke
examples.
trap that I quite like as well that I'm gonna ramble on about. It's just a chest, and it's got a spring. The players can find out there's like a spring mechanism inside it if they inspect it to see if there's a trap that's gonna shoot something out. And then if they activate it, what happens is the trap opens and it shoots out, and it's just a dead limp snake that someone has put in the trap and be like, yeah, it'll throw a snake at them, and then it's been there for 100 years, and it's just
It's just you take one bludgeoning damage as the spring does enough damage to
exactly. You take one damage as the
limp
dead snake collides with you.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
I do one when where you've got these two statues either side of a door.
Yeah.
And one statue will be of like a king or a queen, and they're sort of sat on their throne and they're looking really fed up. And they're just sort of like their heads in their hand, and they're just like this.
That's how you get bad elbows.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh god, there's a running theme here, isn't there? And then the other statue is of a worker who's looking like he's like resting on his, or she's resting on like a broom or something. That they're also looking like really fed up and sort of like, oh, you know, wish this day would be over, and and the the thing that you have to do in order to get into the room is you have to tell them a joke.
Oh yeah,
to cheer them both
to cheer them up.
To cheer them up. Yeah.
I like that.
But I make it really vague as possible. So I've had people be like, maybe you need to take a short rest because they're both like overworked, which is quite good as well. So
that's
like
a good one.
Sometimes when they've taken like ages to figure it out, if they pick that one, I'll go, yes, that's correct. And
the
door opens.
Right. The mark of a good DM is if they come up with a cleverer solution than you did, let them roll with it. Don't be like, no, that's not it. Right.
Exactly.
Just let them have it. I have these were funny traps. I have a very unfunny one. This is only, and I can't take credit for it. I got it from I think Reddit. You guys are familiar with the 9th level spell Prismatic Wall?
Yep.
It's the one where it produces colors of the rainbow, and you can set it up however you like. But basically the way it works is every layer of the rainbow that you pass through, it deals you, I think it's 10d6 damage of an appropriate element. So for the red layer, it's fire. For the blue layer, it's cold. For the green layer, it's poison, et cetera, right? But it also comes with an additional effect. So for instance, you pass through the fire layer, I think it's just fire. But if you pass through the poison layer, you might be poisoned. If you pass through the yellow layer, you take a level of exhaustion if you fail your save. And they're all deck saves.
Poison, I think.
Or right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of spitballing because I don't remember the specifics. And I think the last one, the violet later, is you get banished to a demiplane, and if you don't get out in time, or if you fail your next saving throw, you're permanently stuck there, and someone has to come find you or something to that effect. So it's a really like awful yet wonderfully creative defensive spell, right? A very powerful archmage might put it at the front of their lair to sort of discourage people coming through. But that's just the spell. And here's the trap. So like I said, you can set this wall up in any orientation that you like. So you don't have to make it so that they are walking towards it. You can, for instance, put this above them, like my wizard did. My players walk into the lair of this powerful wizard. They notice that there is a multicolored wall of light above them. It looks like some sort of magical or spell effect. And they're like, that's weird. Well, it's not really doing anything. And it's not hindering us from walking over this hallway because it's maybe 10 or 15 feet up in this 30-foot hallway. Let's just proceed. And as they walk, they step on a trap. a button that if they are not careful, they won't notice, which has a reverse gravity effect on it. So if you step on it, gravity reverses and you start falling up each layer at a time. And when you're falling, you can't control how many layers you voluntarily choose to pass through until you don't. You fall through all of them,
Oh my
right?
God.
Progressively getting worse and have
I
to
love
make
that.
saving throws. No. We're not done. Because then on top of that, once you pass through all layers of the wall, even if you survive whatever 70 D10 damage, whatever it is, right? Plus all the other effects, you're probably already screwed up a fair bit at that. Then you take bludgeoning damage and land prone at the top of the wall. And if it's slow fall, you don't. If someone casts slow fall, you don't. But it gets even worse because you're slowly passing through each of these layers. But then reverse gravity has an effect time of 1 minute. So you have 1 minute to realize that this effect will end. Otherwise, gravity will re-reverse and you will fall back through the wall, the prismatic wall, in reverse order.
Brilliant.
It's the most devious trap and the most
that's great.
absolute party killer that you've ever heard of. I had mine actually. So my players were, I think, like level 18 when they walked into this, and I was like, oh yeah, they've given them tons of magic items. And one of the barbarian had like the tough feat, and I have a homebrew rule about how to roll hit die that gives you more. So he walked in with like 300 and something health probably, and I had to be like, this is actually too much. I'm going to make it so that there's magic in the chamber that just knocks them unconscious and the wizard takes them prisoner. Because otherwise, this is a TPKer. It is absolutely a way to destroy your party.
Oh, I'm using
Yeah.
it. I'm using it for a high level.
sounds great.
Like for a high
The
level.
reverse gravity switch is just the worst. Whoever realized you could put those two together is a dangerous
You can't
person.
teleport through it either. So I don't think once you pass through, you can't then misty step to the other
Back
side.
down. Nope.
Back down.
Nope. You're stuck there. And like it's the whole length of the hallway too. You have to think of a different way to get back out, you know.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Savage.
Anyway, traps. Add that to the roll dark
cool.
D100
Yeah.
deaths.
That's cool. So,
Gosh.
James, any more news, or will we? Is that
Just
us?
one more. So for the
okay.
upcoming Planescape book that is coming out, WizKids have revealed the D&D Icons of the Realms, Planescape Adventures, and the Multiverse Character Miniatures, a box set that is going to go into retail in March 24, which contains all the prominent NPCs that DMs can encounter. So we know their names, and I do not know what they do, but it may be that they were in previous Planescape adventures and people will recognize them, so I'll go to the names.
Okay.
Fel, Mort, who appears to be a flying skull of some sort, Mustaval, Shemeshka, a planar philosopher, and a transcendent order conduit, and a transcendent order instinct. So interesting.
Cool. I'm not familiar with these names either, but yeah, maybe they're references to some older stuff or some streams or something.
I will say, looking at the images of the miniatures they released, they look better quality than some of the other WizKids ones that have been released. I mean,
I don't have any of the WizKids stuff because every time I look at it, it just looks shit. Like
Really
badly
person,
painted. Yeah, really badly painted. Just awful.
I agree. However, if the images that I've got here are accurate to how the quality of the minis, then actually very good. A lot better than they have been.
I'm curious. I am excited for this setting. So I've heard a lot of people talk so many good things about it, and I've delved a little bit into it. So I can't wait.
Yeah, one of my players, Sam, who was one of my first Roll Dark players, has been talking about Planescape since I've known him.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool.
Very nice.
Okay, sweet.
Awesome
so,
stuff.
JC, any updates in terms of Tales from the Tables?
Yes. So as you had already teased, we had the Movember live stream over the weekend, and in Chris's game, we have a submission. In his own words, here we go. The heroes heard orcs who sounded very much like London roadmen having a conversation about their mate Steve, who's been infected and become twice the size with pustules everywhere. They
Nice.
walk in, and after some back and forth, the tiefling warlock begins to talk roadman and convinces them that it's all love, to go get the orc's mum and unchain him. The lead orc unchains him, and the huge orc rears up and cuddles him tight in thanks. Tiefling Warlock was played by Giselle, who wrote and directed the short film How to Cope with Serial Killing.
Nice. Nice.
Amazing. Very,
Yeah.
very fun. I am a
Yeah.
big fan of the you roll a natural one and the orc lovingly strokes your back trope.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's terrifying, isn't it? It's
He reaches
terrifying.
out to slap you. He just caresses your
He
face.
caresses your face slightly. And then I don't know if you guys have read the rest of this because it's a great bit. The rest of it goes, 12 years later, as you and Glubthark the Barbarian are raising a family together at your homestead, you think back on that day at the bar and you just chuckle or something like that. It's yeah,
I think my
it's
favorite was is the line directly after the orc reaches out and caresses your back, and then it's just you feel uncomfortable.
you feel uncomfortable. Yeah. So that's our only submission, but I'm gonna give you another tale from the table, and you guys tell me whether this what your opinions are on this. So this is a Chris Estrade game that I'm running from home, or for as my home game, and this happened this week. The players are evenly divided between murder hobos and really like kind wanting to help out and purge the evil from Barovia, and the other ones are just bored and want combat. It is an even split in the party. One of them is a little bit more of a role player than the others, and he's been role playing a character that is slowly being corrupted from the inside by a dark gift which takes the form of a symbiote, kind of like a venom thing going on inside of him, right? But he's kind of giving into it rather than resisting, and it's starting to put a lot of pressure on the party. So they're at this point where they're meeting, and I don't want to spoil Chris Estrade too much, so I'm going to kind of be a little generic with the stuff, but they're basically meeting a town official and having a dinner with him. And they've already been hired by an aristocrat in the city to basically work against this town official because this town official is pretty unpopular. The aristocrat wants to make a coup for power, but she wants it handled a very specific way. So she's hired the party just to sort of observe, take notes, and eliminate at a very specific time during a big public event, a festival, the captain of the guard, who's this corrupt, super powerful individual. But the town official leave it to the aristocrat and her little team, right? Don't get involved because they can't have their hands stained with his blood. They hated this town official so much. I think I gave him a voice like Varys from Game of Thrones. Oh, all will be well, my lord. Yes, the realm. Someone must. And he was just in general kind of a dick to his own wife and his kid. And at one point, after dinner, they were like, okay, before we accept the town official's job, let's reconvene outside the house. They reconvene outside the house, and they're like, no, I'm bored, and this guy sucks. Let's just go in and mess him up and send a message, Okay. So the party, including the good ones, go along with this. And I think the rogue, or not the rogue, but our rogue/monk mix starts trying to climb his way up to the top of the house to see if he can spy and get a better look at what's going on. Fails a save and falls off of the roof on top of one of the guards. And the guards aren't immediately hostile. They just go, oh, bloody heck, what are you doing? Get off. And what do you think you're up to? Baron, this one's been sneaking about, just trying to see what's going on. And the Baron shows up at the door and it's like, what is the meaning of this? And immediately the party goes ham. I think just the two guards, the the town official, everybody that's in that area just immediately gets screwed. The cleric, or not the cleric, is he cleric? The artificer / wizard casts Dragon's Breath on his owl familiar and just roasts these, regular CR half guards or whatever they are with their 11 HP and a noble with 9 HP, just roasts them in the doorway. But then things start catching fire because it's a wooden house, and the wife comes out, and even though she's not exactly a fan of her husband, she's like, Georgie, or whatever his name is, and the bard is like, oh, we can't have witnesses and mental prisons, or Tasha's hideous laugh, I forget which one he used, but some psychic spell that did like 18 times more health than she had on her person. And I just described her head exploding. You see the brain pouring out of her ears and stuff like that. And then they were like, oh, and the servants too. So they're trying to cut off the exit of the servants. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, this is so not what was supposed to happen. This is the most massive derail. The good guys, like the good side of the party, is now giving into it and just going ham. And this is why, kids, you always give your players an outlet, because if you don't, they'll take it out on the wrong individual and their family and the household staff and any guards that happen to be nearby. So,
I have found that players react most viscerally to people who are rude to them, no matter how good or well intentioned. If they and maybe it's because all our players for the most part are English, and we are very strict in our feelings about etiquette and fairness. But as soon as someone's rude or says the wrong things or is makes a snippy comment, they're like, well, they need to die.
Right. Basically, the Hannibal Lecters of the world. Isn't it? So
we can't do this in real life. I can't punish people who are rude to me in real life, but I can do it in the game. I have the ability to kill them, and I will
murder them because they're rude.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've encountered that for sure. They're like, oh, the villain, we don't care about them so much. This one tavern keeper that didn't want, or this one shopkeeper that didn't want to give me my discount and was rather rude when I failed my persuasion check, he dies, and we're looting his whole shop.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay. So I've got a quick tale from the table that that's reminded me of. I had players who met a very friendly shopkeeper who they tried to extort, basically, and get massive discounts. They were essentially trying to rob him, and they're supposed to be good characters. So what they wanted were, I think, jugs of endless water. They were in a desert in the middle of the desert, and they were going on a long journey through the desert. So eventually, he relented and said he would get them. Fine, I'll get you the best and newest jugs of endless water. Went to the back, brought them back, 2 jugs of endless water. Party left. 2 days later, in the middle of the desert, pulled out the jugs of endless water. We're like, great, we're fine, we've got water. We'll pour it, have a drink. Saltwater jugs.
No.
So, admittedly, that did
never specified what kind of water.
Yeah,
you gotta be specific with your requests, guys.
They immediately went back to try and find the shopkeeper, and he had mysteriously left town. So that derailed the campaign for a while. As they were like, "Well, we're hunting him for screwing us over."
Screw the desert adventure you had planned. This is now a urban caper. Find the shopkeeper who sold them the shitty jugs of water. Oh my gosh, brilliant. I'm actually doing a bit of desert travel in a different game in my private game on Thursdays, Rob, and they're in the middle of it right now. I love desert themed adventures and anything vaguely Egyptian with mummies and whatnot. That is my jam. Love that stuff.
It's cool, isn't it? It's cool. So cool. I found out actually the other day that back in the Victorian age, they used to sell mummies in the streets to Western travelers, literally because they used to go and loot. They looted all. It was because of Napoleon, because when Napoleon basically opened up Egypt to the west when he invaded, and they basically did. They were like, there was this huge fascination just kicked off.
Yeah,
sort of in the late 19th century, and you'd have like Egyptians selling mummies that they'd literally gone and looted from their tombs to Westerners,
To Westerners.
and Westerners would buy these mummies, take them home, and then they'd have these mummy parties where they would like unveil the mummy, and there'd be all these people like cheering and going, "Yeah, yeah."
Oh, man.
To think that was only 2 centuries ago.
Yep.
If
Not even.
what, yeah,
Not even a
not even
full
that.
200 years.
There
Yeah.
were people that would like sell it. Like it's like my partner Charlotte's always like whenever we think about where we're going to go on holiday, she's always like, "Oh, should we go to Egypt?" And I'm like, I'd like to go to Egypt, but I just don't want to go into a tomb that's empty. You know,
Mhm. Because of that.
you know,
yeah.
You've already
because of
took
that, like,
everything.
yeah, they're just like in museums all around the world, or they're like Tutankhamun just does like the circuit of the earth, doesn't it?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep.
You know, if you want to see Tutankhamun, you have to go to wherever he might be, like New York or Chicago or wherever. It's such a shame that they do
Mhm.
that. They did that.
Mhm. There,
Well,
I know
the
that
problem
there's
is,
a whole
we
movement.
ate
Oh,
a
go
lot of the
ahead.
mummies.
Yeah,
many times.
Oh.
Ground them up into dust.
Yeah, and then
you
used
s-
to cure illnesses
Yeah, thought they would be like for medicine. So
because they were magic. I
What?
don't know. That seems like
Yeah,
a ridiculous
and
thing.
then
to think.
and then what some of the people did is because mummies started to become really scarce, they would get just people off the streets, just like, or they dig up dead bodies from wherever and just be like, there you go, that's a mummy.
This is a
And
mummy.
it's
We
not.
pulled it from the tomb
Yeah.
of Harakaten, and totally
Fucked
real. Oh
up.
my god.
So fucked up.
God.
Ugh,
So-
dark
Listen,
as hell.
the almost Egyptology major in me is crying right now because I know all of
Yeah,
this, but
right,
hearing
yeah,
it
yeah.
reminded me of it. I was like,
Oh,
no.
yeah, right, yeah.
Cool plot point.
Cool,
Oh,
yeah.
people have found
Yeah.
mummies and they're eating them for the medicinal purposes. And in D&D, maybe they do have medicinal. Oh god, I can't speak. Medicinal purposes.
Medicinal.
You know what I mean.
Special
But this is about the
stuff. The thingamajig.
that is a cool plot point. Like you're
Yeah.
like, what is this mysterious plague overtaking the city? And the more investigating you do, oh, they're eating mummies.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep. That'll
There
do
you
it.
go.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm guessing that we've already sort of shared a few horror stories from our own sort of experiences. I think unless there is anything, James, you've got one of you.
he's got it.
It's not.
From the
It's
Reddit?
not a horror story in itself. It's something
Okay.
that I saw on Twitter.
Ooh.
Okay.
That someone had reshared from 2020 about power gaming,
Okay.
and I wanted
cool.
to, and I thought it might spark a discussion.
Yep.
So
Go for it.
their comment is elite level power gaming is not about character optimization, though this is important. It's about driving the game, steering the campaign in the direction you want it to go, establishing victory conditions, and winning the game. The aspiring power gamer
Winning
must
the game.
must remove the DM out of the leadership role and make him the impartial referee he is meant to be. You will make the other players follow your lead and assist you, and they will enjoy the process, even though they may not understand what is happening as it is happening. What do we think about a player who would try and do that?
Well, straight away they've got the concept of the DM completely wrong. The DM is not the leader at all. The DM is given the agency to all of the players in order to build a story. And that's the purpose of the game, in my opinion. And whether or not the players all die at the end or they survive, it's just the effect of the story that you've created. Like you can watch any number of fantastic films and fantastic cinema where the hero dies, and that's called a tragedy, right?
Right.
So that's just what happens. It's about the agency of building the story, and it's not. That's one of the biggest bugbears of me with D&D is that some players see it as a game to win,
Right.
and it's
I
just
don't.
not
But what do you win? Combat?
exactly.
Like what?
Yeah, you're not. What are you winning? Yeah, you're not.
It didn't go into any more detail about what victory conditions you can, as a player, impart on the table for you to win.
The winning for me,
make everyone miserable.
Yeah. Exactly. Like the winning for me is that everyone has had an amazing time. That's the winning.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
That's the we've won because we've all had a great time.
We've built something together.
That whole exactly telling a story collaboratively. That whole tweet. You said it was from Twitter, right?
Yeah,
Whatever. That whole tweet just reeks of insecure machismo, like the frail
yeah.
masculinity element of it.
Yeah.
What is it that you're so uncomfortable about in your own life that you're trying to win a game where you throw dice and in a fantasy world and pretend to be different characters? Like what oh, you must remove the DM from the equation and set him to the impartial
Referee. Yeah.
referee that he is meant to be, or they are meant to be. What?
That's
Really? Is
really
that our
not
job?
what DM is.
I
No.
missed that memo. I've been doing this
Yeah.
3.5 years. I forgot that was my job.
Yeah.
Oops.
No, our job is to facilitate the players role-playing the characters that they have created and want to
Yeah.
inhabit, and giving them the opportunity and the scenarios to be able to do that and
Right.
guide the story that you want
Yeah.
to tell together.
I always go in being like, hey, everyone, no matter how much combat we do or don't have, or exploration we do and don't have, or roleplay we do and don't have in this game, at the end of the day, the way I run it is, this is a story. We are collaboratively telling it. You have made characters, which will be the center points of the story. I have characters that will play against and with and around those main characters of yours, and we'll figure this out together as we go along. So yeah, even though they do
exactly.
burn down the mansion of Noble and execute his whole family way before, and not in a way that they were originally intended to, that's okay. It's their story, and the consequences of this and the repercussions of this, I'm certain, will be very interesting to see play out as they turn to each other like, are we the baddies? Oh shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
yes, they are. If they're listening, you 100% are the baddies.
Yeah, right.
I think this person obviously has it's either very misled or has just had really bad experiences. Get yourself a DM, a roll dark DM even, who wants to help facilitate the story of your character. Yeah. That is, at the end of the day, the only thing that we're actually out here to do.
The only thing I can understand maybe is maybe they've had really antagonistic DMs in the past who have felt that it is their job to kill the players, which is also not true. But that's totally. If it's a kickback against that, I can see the massive overcorrect that this is. But I think they're just a power gamer, and they just like to an extreme level.
Yep. I probably have once. Well, it's not so much over the summer, but definitely in sort of like the colder months of the year, I get an email once a month, I would say on average, by a DM who wants to be a Roll Dark DM, wants to be a professional dungeon master, and their attitude is that they are against the players, and they don't get the concept of like, because how could you be a professional dungeon master if your whole goal is to kill your customers?
Yeah, what do you do after that?
Like, bye
thanks
then, guys.
for playing. Let's get the next batch of people who want to die.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't avoid killing them, but you don't. That's not your goal. You don't set out to do that. Like I imagine we've all had like player characters die in games.
Right.
The
world has stakes. If the world doesn't have stakes, then the game doesn't really have much of a meaning, right? Because then it's just a simulator, a video game where you can reload your save. So it has to have stakes. Again, depends on the kind of game you're running, I suppose. But but like if it doesn't have that element, then there's what's the point? If it does have that element, but you're abusing it, then what's the point? You have to ride that fine line in between.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. Well, I think we should. I think how long? Hour and 8 minutes. Well, I think we've got time to do some monster voices.
Yeah.
And how do you guys feel about doing undead monsters?
Yeah.
We spoke about that earlier. And we can pick one for each other. I think that might be a good thing to go.
Okay.
So let's have a little look.
I'll make it random too. I'll get my MM out.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You know what? I have a good idea.
I'm going to go ahead and use D&D Beyond, the
premier.
Are
you
online...
sponsored, James?
I really wish.
Did they sneak into your house and be like, "Hey, we heard you have a podcast. Keep plugging this."
I woke up with one of them at the end of my bed. I struggled then to remember literally anyone high profile from who works on D&D at the moment. Well, same as Matt Mercer.
Nope. I actually
But,
don't know anyone who works at D&D Beyond. I have a better idea for. Well, I'm comfortable with doing that, but rather than giving you a random one from the monster manual, I'm going to go to Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, which is full of undead monstrosities.
Okay, cool.
You know what? I think I've got one for you.
Groups of creatures.
I think I've got
Are
one.
you not
for
using
JC.
D&D Beyond, James?
There we go. And I think I'm also drawing from Van Richten's.
Nice. I'm ready.
Yeah, it is a Van Richten's monster. I've used it in a game, and I think it'll be interesting to see.
I'm scared. All right. So you've got one for me. I'll get one for Rob, and Rob, you get one for James.
Yep, cool.
All right.
I'm gonna give you, James, an Owlhoon. Did you guys hear that?
Oh
yes! Oh yes! You just played into his trap card.
Yeah. Okay.
The Mind Flayer Wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mind Flayer Wizard. Undead. Okay. All right, JC. You've got
what are we gonna say? What's gonna be the script?
We'll make it up. We'll improv.
Okay, cool.
I'm good with that.
Or type into ChatGPT.
Right. For those of us. Okay, and for you, Rob, I'm going to make this random. I'm just flip a couple of pages and point. Ooh, okay. So this is an interesting one. It's a loup-garou, if you want to say it in the right way of French.
How the hell do you spell that?
The loup-garou, Loup, because the P is silent, and then another word, Garou. Basically, it's a roided out werewolf. That's what it is. A loup-garou just means wolf man. It's just a fancy French version of saying it. So yeah, it's a Van Richten's upgraded werewolf, basically.
Okay, cool.
So classic monster there. Oh, James, you're on mute. Oh, okay.
Just running by some stuff.
Oh, you were
practicing.
practicing it. I love it. All right, what do you got for me, James?
Okay, so a young she.
Nice. I think that was next to the page because it's like the one I landed on. Shang-Chi. Okay, so those are the East Asian inspired undead that basically become catatonic and then rise out, and they hop around. The vengeful undead. Very cool. I'm gonna get the art.
Their descendants and their communities they knew in life.
Yeah. Yeah, they're known as like the hopping dead or something instead of the walking dead.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. They sort of
okay. Who's kicking it off?
Well, I mean, we know I've had a practice, so I suppose I'll give you.
Yeah, you go for it, James.
Do it.
Go for it, James. Go for it.
So Alhoon, tentacly, but also raspy. So I think it would perhaps be something raspy but lispy. So your brain would not sustain my magical powers for long, being so puny and tiny.
Amazing. Nice. I feel really intimidated. You are so puny and tiny. I love that. Amazing. All right.
Cool. Okay, who wants to go? Do you want to go next, JC, or shall
I? You do it. You can do it.
Okay, so loup-garou, is that right?
Loup-garou is with an R.
Strain of lycanthrope, more virulent than the carried by common werewolves. Aside from being deadlier than their werewolf cousins, loup-garou aggressively spread the plague of lycanthrope. Only through the death of a loup-garou might those afflicted by it escape their curse. So is that French?
It is, yeah. It literally just means man wolf or wolf man. Loup means wolf, and garou I think is just like man.
Okay,
as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so ChatGPT's giving me a little bit of text.
Okay,
here we go. So,
cherished soul, do you feel the weight of my hunger gaze upon you? The moon, she calls me forth. and your fate is sealed in her silver light. Tremble, for tonight ye shall dance with the cursed. Your fear, your scent, they fuel the beast within. Mon ami, there's no escape on the claws of destiny. Embrace thy night, for it is your last.
Nice. The Mon Ami was perfect.
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
Cool.
Hello, the baguette is after you next.
I'm not sure I did the French bit very that much justice,
Oh,
but
that was great.
I'll listen back to it later and cringe as a. Like, is that right?
That's intimidating, man. I'd be scared meeting a creature
Cool.
like that.
Okay. Sweet.
All right. So this Jiangshi, I love this. The little bit of flavor text here. These vengeful dead stalk their descendants and the communities they knew in life, sowing terror and taking retribution for the slights or neglected burial sites that led to their cursed resurrections. Rigor mortis notoriously affects the limbs of the Jiangshi, causing them to hold their arms rigidly and to walk with a stiff gait. The hopping vampires, they're sometimes called. Brilliant. So the artwork for this, if you don't have it in front of you, if you don't know what they look like, is also really cool and inspired. They're wearing like a traditional Chinese top and long sleeves, but they have this really terrific undead with like peeling gray skin and long sharp teeth all through their mouth. So I figure it would be something like this. You know, the door, I'm setting the scene, the door suddenly bangs open to someone's bedroom in the middle of the night. You rise up, scared, look through the moonlit window and see only the silhouette of something before it fully comes into the light. And as it speaks and bounces through into your bedroom, it says,
Joe, you have left. You have not been to visit me. You have forgotten. Well, I have not forgotten you. You are going to pay for everything that you have ever done. You will join me in my grave.
Ooh, nice.
wow.
Yeah, really good.
And then you run.
Cool. Yeah.
You were very lucky,
stuff.
JC, that Oni weren't technically undead, because that was my go-to.
Yeah.
At some point, you're getting an Oni thrown at you. So
Oni, great. Get ready. Cool.
Nice one. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, thank you for tuning into our latest episode. We've got some new games that are coming out over September and October. You can find them on the Roldark website, www.roldark.co.uk. Click on games, go to online, and you should be able to find a little thing at the top that says new games. Click that, and you'll find them there. Or you could just go to the link that's in the description below.
Boom.
So, yeah, thank you so much to my co-hosts, James and JC. And we will see you guys, or hear you guys, or you'll hear us, in fact, next week.
Next week.
Nice
awesome.
one.
Thanks,
a lot,
everybody. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.